We can't be what I would refer to as Luddites and pretend that the world isn't changing.
Yeah.
Whenever you have significant changes, whether that was with the Industrial Revolution, taking over after the agriculture phenomenon, what you have is great anxiety that's created. But at the same time, you have great opportunity.
Welcome to the IAA-QLI 6 Pillars in Action podcast, where we deep dive into the transformative impact of the work being done in Indianapolis Black communities. Get ready to be inspired by the incredible projects and organizations making a real difference in the lives of Indianapolis residents. And that conversation starts right now.
Welcome to 6 Pillars in Action podcast, where we take an in-depth look at the incredible work of the Indianapolis African American Quality of Life Initiative, or IAA-QLI. Of course, it's a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
I'm your host, Samantha Douglas, and today we are here with Teresa Lubbers from the Sagamore Institute. So first off, welcome.
Thank you.
But also, I would love to know more about, before we get into what the Sagamore Institute is and what you all do there, I would love to know more about like some of your history, because I think it ties into that work.
Yeah, I think my history will explain a little bit about Sagamore, and then we can talk more about Sagamore as well. First of all, I'm happy to be here with you today, and my background is really mostly on education and economic development. I was in the state senate for 17 years and chaired the Education and Career Development Committee. I left the Senate to become the Indiana Commissioner for Higher Education and held that position for 13 years. But the common denominator really throughout my career has been creating more opportunity for people through education. And so when I came to Sagamore, which I joined Sagamore about 3 years ago, I was really especially interested in the area that we're talking about today, which is building more opportunity and personal well-being for people. I can talk a little bit about Sagamore if you'd like, just to give you a high-level conversation about that, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I would love to know more about, because like I told you before, like I've heard of Sagamore Institute, but I know there's plenty of us that really don't know like what you all do. So I would love to get an overview of like what you all do there, and then would love to hear about how your experience in the State House and with politics and education has now fed into your work there.
I'm happy to do that. Well, Sagamore has been in Indianapolis in Indiana for 20 years. We celebrated our 20th anniversary last year. Some people may be familiar with what was the prequel organization to Sagamore, which was called Hudson Institute.
Okay.
And Hudson moved to D.C. 20 years ago, and Lilly Endowment and some of the leaders in Indiana wanted a heartland-based think tank. So when I say a think tank, people go, what in the world does that mean? I know. Not only are we a think tank, but we would refer to ourselves as an action-oriented think tank. So when you think of a think tank, you might think of things like Brookings or American Enterprise Institute, which does sort of the academic research around subjects. And we do that. That's part of what we do as well. But we're not satisfied with just researching a topic. We want to actually support those who are putting those ideas into practice and changing people's lives. And so we have a multitude of senior fellows who work with us. We have partners, operational partners, who operate with us as well. So Sagamore actually is focused on many areas, some of which aren't as important to our conversation today, but one in particular that really is, I think. And that is what we would, you talked about 6 pillars here today, I know, and we're concerned about all 6 of those pillars under what we would say the umbrella is, which is called opportunity. The big problem that we know we can't address in a singular way, but we really want to do something about it, which is really looking at the problems of income disparity and personal well-being. So that could be health, that could be education. So for example, at Sagamore, we actually run the state's mental health roundtable. Because we know that's an issue that keeps people from living their best lives. We look at opportunities for people in the minority community as well. So we work a lot with InnoPower. I know one of the grantees for this grant, and Emil Ekior as well, really looking at how do we do a better job in terms of creating intergenerational wealth creation, and how do we address those issues, of which we know much of that has to do with education. So I think we look at that whole area. The third area that we look at national defense, and we look at an area which we would call civil society. How do we deal with the issues that are polarizing society today? And that's important to this conversation, but because we have limited time, we'll talk about opportunity today.
Yeah. That sounds good. So I know you guys have a workforce 2040. I said 2020.
Well, there was a 2020 too.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
yes.
Look. See, I didn't get it from nowhere.
No, actually, this is the third in a workforce series. In the late 1980s, there was a product which was called Workforce 2000. This has always been about the future of work. And interestingly enough, because I'm the only old one around here today, at that time in the late 1980s, it really wasn't referred to as workforce. It was referred to as manpower.
Yeah.
And it really was looking at what are going to be the needs of the future of work. In the late 1990s, a product came out which was called Workforce 2020. When I came to Sagamore, which was about 3 years ago, it was clear to me that the changes in the economy were happening in such rapid space, and that technology was influencing things so much that we really needed to look at the future of work into 2040. So that's what we released Workforce 2040 last fall. It really looks at 3 areas, which is, the first is really the future of the workforce. It's a demographic look. Who's going to be living in Indiana? Where will they live? By gender, by race, by all of the issues that will influence that. We actually partnered with the Indiana Business Research Center to do a deep dive on the demographics of Indiana. And you look at that, the counties that are losing in population is a big issue.
Yeah.
And when you, Indiana grew a little bit, but that's not inevitable that will continue in the future. If you look at the population of people between the ages of 16 and 24, that population is declining, as well as fertility rates and a lot of those issues. If you look at what we would refer to as the family formation years, it's flat. If you look at the older population, they're living longer, which brings costs with that as well. So that matters a lot. Then we also looked at the future of work. Which jobs are coming, which jobs are going away, and how are we going to prepare people for those? It's going to, the idea that you're going to exit whatever your highest level of education is and be in that job for the rest of your life is highly unlikely with the changes that are coming. And what's the obligation of employers to come alongside people when those jobs change? And then the third area, which is really interesting to me, is the future of learning. And what's the impact of technology, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, all of the things that influence the way that people will learn. And as I said again, this is going to require people when those jobs change to come back again and learn new skills. And how are we going to come alongside people and make sure that happens? So we did this last year. We always knew that we did this with 7 key takeaways, predictions, and recommendations. And I'm already in the process of starting to do an addendum to it because things have changed so much.
Yes, that's what's so hard about jobs becoming more connected with tech and how fast tech changes and how fast then the job place changes. I think it's so interesting too that I hate to see in education spaces, especially with our small children, that we discourage them from using AI and stuff rather than teaching them how to use it responsibly.
Absolutely. I think that's exactly right. I mean, there need to be guardrails, but we can't be what I would refer to as Luddites and pretend that the world isn't changing.
Yeah.
Whenever you have significant changes, whether that was with the Industrial Revolution, taking over after the agriculture phenomenon, what you have is great anxiety that's created, but at the same time you have great opportunity. So what we've really tried to do is, in a hopeful way, look at the opportunities that actually technology can provide, even while realizing that there are legitimate guardrails that need to be there too.
Yeah.
Especially by age.
Yes. Yes. So with your, specifically the work that the IAA QLI funding has allowed, can you talk about your partnership with InnoPower and what that looks like?
Well, first of all, we have to give a great credit to Lilly Endowment for the generous contribution of $100 million that came to support this kind of work, whether it's small organizations that are making a difference or large ones. My understanding is that there are grantees on all sizes of those and making a difference, and the funding allowing them to scale that. Working with Emil Echior and InnoPower, which we've done for a long time, as I mentioned, he is so focused on intergenerational wealth creation. And so the reason this really aligns with us is we're concerned about education, entrepreneurship, employment, the impact of technology, all of those issues which actually Emil, in his brave, courageous way, said, I'm willing to try to tackle some of those. And so in particular, he's looked at we're very supportive of what he's been doing with Indie Business BizPass, which allows entrepreneurs in the Black community to actually have a place with low cost or no cost at all to actually, jumpstart their businesses and have a place to work. It provides not only a physical place to do that, but collegiality among people who do that as well. Because often, especially entrepreneurs who are starting, feel that they're out there on their own. And a small amount of money can make a significant difference in allowing them to build their business to the next level. So yes, they're supporting the beginning entrepreneur, but with a vision of how to take that entrepreneur to the next level. So you've had, I think 220 businesses through Indie Business Pass who have actually been able to take advantage of a place where they can actually birth their business. Then the other thing that he's received, so he received, significant funding for that. I think it was over $400,000. They received the second wave of the grants that came through. There was a first wave, and I think they're in the process of the fourth grantees are coming on board fairly soon.
Yeah.
He was really in the second phase of those grants. And the other thing that he's been doing, he's been working with Indiana Wesleyan and what's called Blazing Academy to make sure that we're building equity into the business community of technology in the Black community as well. Because what you don't want to do is look back and say, we left lots of people behind by not giving them the opportunity to really engage in what are going to be high growth and high wage jobs. So he's working with them to actually provide, this is sort of inside baseball. I don't even know what it is when I say this, but it's called prompt engineering.
Okay.
I sound like I know what I'm talking about. But prompt engineering is a very important new way of actually using technology and answering questions. And Blazing Academy has been involved in doing this, and Indiana Wesleyan. So his goal is, it's a teach the trainer. Yeah, teach the trainer kind of thing. That's exactly the terminology that he would use. So you have a small number that then teach the others.
Yes.
It's already had, I think, 1,000 graduates doing that in a short-term period of time. So his vision is to actually create wealth in the technology community for Black entrepreneurs and Black individuals.
That's so incredible. I remember, we don't think a lot about who's in the space or not, because especially in the tech space, it's kind of like, it seems like it's like eyes behind the curtain, right? We don't know who these people are. But I remember one time we were teasing my father. My father is Black, and we were using Snapchat filters, and they would not work on his face. And we could not figure out, why don't they work on his face? And then when we searched it, we found out that there's the programming was built around white faces, because there were so many white tech folks building these things. Yeah. And that's why it had a hard time picking up Black features and things like that. And I was like, what? That's a
How
thing?
long ago would that have been?
It was before the pandemic. So it's
not
been
that long ago, but
no, but it's been a decent amount of years. But I was just blown away at how we don't think about how those kind of things could play a role in how we use tech and how it works with us or not, right?
Or if you don't have broadband access, those kinds of things that were, narratives that if communities didn't have the ability to do some of those things.
Yes.
So I think, without speaking for Emil, my sense is that his vision is that we address this early rather than late. Often times when you have significant changes in the economy, we don't think about the unintended consequences that come and plan for those up front. So who's going to be left behind? And how are you going to make sure that doesn't happen? So I think using technology and, learning how to do that in schools in a responsible way matters.
Yes, I think so. I guess when you guys decided to work with Emil, especially being a fiscal agent, through this process, what made it so that okay, yes, this is a program that we want to step in and fill that nonprofit gap for them, so that they can really have fun and to expand this work?
Well, we cared about education, entrepreneurship, and employment. And Emil's work is absolutely focused strategically on all three of those areas. And so it made complete sense to us, I think, from both a pragmatic and a moral way.
Yeah.
We are not we're a 501c3. We don't take political positions, so we're not ideological in that way. But we basically, our idea is, we don't admire problems, we admire solutions.
Yeah.
And so somebody who comes to us, or an organization that comes to us with a vision to solve a big problem, entrepreneurship in the Black community, and how do you make sure you can jumpstart opportunities for people? it fits into our DNA and who we are.
Yeah, that's amazing. I want to thank you so much for being here today. I also is there a way somebody can access the Workforce 2040?
Yes, they can go to our website for Sagamore, and they find a way, and you can buy it on Amazon too.
Okay.
I have some copies. I'll leave this one with you.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm happy to
Appreciate
provide
that.
some other copies. I'm trying to get as many of them around as I can.
Yeah. So what is that website, by the way, for Sagamore?
It's just sagamoreinstitute.com.
Oh, nice. Easy. Simple. So thank you so much for coming here today to sharing with me. Thank you all for watching this first half, and make sure you stay for our next guest.
Coming up, hear from another IAA QLI awardee and learn more about the impact and work being done in our community. And don't forget, subscribe to our podcast and visit the IAA QLI website and learn more about the work being done and ways to get involved.
Welcome back to Six Pillars in Action podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Samantha Douglas, and we are back here with Astaire from Felege Hiywot Center. Yay! That's okay. So, first of all, Astaire, tell us about your history, right, and what led you to the center, and then also how the center started.
How I got to the center, I was working at Eli Lilly's. Originally, I came from Ethiopia, so that was in 73. Then finished school, started working at Lilly's in chemistry research. And then we started doing science conversations, lunchtime conversation at IPS schools. I didn't find a lot of people interested to listen to me, and then I tried to make it interesting. Then I made it an after school. And that still did not make sense. So when I was really getting frustrated, I said, you guys, I think maybe I'll just stop. And this girl just said, I don't want to be a scientist. Can we just plant flowers? So that was my first education, how to teach, how to make science into a really simple common language kind of things, but I didn't know anything about plants. So I had to go back to Lilly's and told my peers, and they say, oh, no problem, we'll bail you out. And all the plant scientists came. They started working around the school, picking the weeds, doing all that kind of stuff. It just exploded. They just loved it. They start learning all of the different things about plants, even designing what color you want to put here. But, then science was in it, into everything. So that worked, and that's how it started. Pretty much after that, there was just no stopping. But the main thing about me or any of the other scientists of our education is, what do they want to learn? It's not about what we want to teach. So the girl said, I don't want to be a scientist. I want to be a beautician. I said, okay, beautician science. And that's how it went from there. The guy says basketball, no problem. Another scientist said he will do all the science about basketball.
That's I love that, like finding science in all the different things. Teaching. Because we have this debate in my house that, like, my husband is one of those people that's like, oh, there's a certain level of math that you don't need, and I'm like, yeah, right. You use this kind of math all the time, various ways that you use high school math. We need it all. But so I would love to hear about you all's youth engagement through farming. So tell me about some of you all's programs and how you guys connect with the kids.
So the programming and the connection is, like I said, once we learn, what is it that you want to learn? So that's where all of the connection comes. But it needs to be science connected. Right after we started the planting around the school and did all of that and finished, a 13-year-old boy got killed. And then when he got killed, the same thing, I walked in and we say, okay, what do you all want to do? And they poured their heart out. They had all kind of plans. Like, we want to clear all of these bushes around. We want to plant a tree for Alex. We want to have food for Alex. And then we want to have a play, or we want to tell the world how Alex loves music and laughs. So our job was to make sure that happens. So my daughter-in-law, the Blue House Entertainment, that she came in and did a play, Song for Peace. And then the students created all kind of T-shirts like crime fighters. We planted a tree. It's really tall now. And under the tree, they wanted to put Alex, we love you. So all of it is their discussion. But they became It's pretty much what you would call, there's a lot of words right now. You know, you use the community assets and you get them involved and they're always there. So it's pretty much, I say that I always use Six Sigma with the kids.
Yeah.
Like we go through, facilitate, discuss. This is their plan.
Yes.
But because it is their idea, they just thrive.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I really had to struggle. It's the same thing with every lesson. What do we do next? What do we do next? And that's how
love
we go.
that.
So it taught me they are partners like everybody else. Partnership is very important because they become the first partners. They will say, discuss, sit at the table, we discuss. What is it that we need to do? What do you want to learn? Then from there, whenever they say, we want to do this, and I would say, okay, I need to find somebody. Yeah. Then that led into the Purdue Extension here in Indianapolis for a lot more agriculture. My boss, then he came and started the garden, and then there are a lot of, then I found out a lot of people, even at Lily's, have gardens in the back. They will come and teach. Then we start going into the Eli Lilly education part of the system where we would get lessons, and then we will borrow and we work on it and take it back. Everybody volunteered, and then we will teach. But while that is growing, then we needed, so this is where, you know, I had all these different houses that I was purchasing, and they boarded up. It's terrible. Nobody would drive through there.
Yeah.
It was just a mess. But Major Tooling Machine, which is 4 blocks north of us, reached out to them. The employees started coming, and they started renovating. And the first innovation also was with Eagles Church. Some engineers were interning, you know, volunteering at rebuilding the wall, and then they came to us and helped us with one of the houses. It took off. All of those people have been excited. But now, look at this one. If you see the house now,
Yeah.
looks like all kind of contractors did it. Nothing was contract. 100% with volunteers.
Yeah.
But when they're volunteering and renovating that building, the amount of mentorship that happened, the students watching them building, they will say, do you want to hold the drill? Do you want to do this? Give me that. It's just that whole process. It grew. It's just a completely different thing. So from all the way to 2015, 16, we laugh when we say, can we get somebody to do this? I'll actually get a contractor, and we laugh because that's the first time we actually started having people to do something.
Yeah.
It was all volunteer.
That's beautiful.
So mentoring happens without like saying that we need to use this book, we need to do this lesson. It just, the students,
Like organically.
what's their need? What is it that they needed to do?
Yeah.
So that's how it grows, and they pretty much they taught me and everybody else how to do it.
I remember, I want to take us back just for a second because I remember I wanted to ask, where did the name come from? Like, what does it mean?
The name Felege Hiywot is an Ethiopian language. It's my language. It means looking for direction in life. So we are all doing that.
Yeah.
The students are looking for direction in life, and I am looking for direction in life, all of us. So we all just go forward, talking to each other and see what we want to do and who has the resource to support us.
And as you're supporting these kids through doing just the things that they wanted to do, they're finding their own way.
Exactly.
That's beautiful. I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah, I always say I was in discovery science all those years, but I'm still doing discovery science because whenever they discover something they love and they're passionate, I'm just as excited as they are. But I also found a whole lot about myself, so many things I learned from them. So it keeps us going. So it is discovering, it is learning, it's finding who you are. And the students I don't want it to be, I want the way those students felt the first time, like say, okay, what do you want to do? So that means school doesn't do it. Everywhere is you need to learn this to succeed. But what about the simple thing of finding them?
Yeah.
Who are they?
Yeah.
What is that they want to do? What is their passion? Finding that passion early.
Yeah.
And then let them go. And that is important.
I feel like there's an idea with youth too that like they don't know. Like they don't know what they want. They don't know what they want to be. They don't know, all those things. But I love how just like with you, basically you guys are kind of just saying, okay, like you don't have to know everything. What's the first thing? What do you want to do right now?
What do you want to do?
Yeah, what do you want to do right now? And how can we support that? That's beautiful.
And then it also is hard for a lot of people. Like when we started, they wanted to plant, right? And then if I get people who are really expert in gardening, and then we'll have seeds, they say, I want to plant it in the mulch. And then they will say, no, it won't grow. I said, stop. They need to find out.
Yeah.
And then they will say, us wasting. No, it's not wasting, it's education. So it is, if that's what they want to do, they need to do it, but document. What did you find out? What did you learn?
Yeah.
What do you think grow? Then did you want to try it somewhere else? So we don't interfere.
Yeah.
And actually, I find it very much harder to train adults than the children.
Yeah, because that's the scientist in you too. I seen this video of Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about how we'll see a toddler with like eggs on a counter, and we'll tell them like oh don't do that, don't do that, and he's like, but what happens if you just let it fall, let it break, let them feel that it's gooey, let them, how we kill their curiosity in that way. Yeah.
You said
So
the right word.
yeah, so I love that. So tell me how has this IAAQLI funding allowed you all to expand or grow on this work that you've been doing?
See, that is good question. It's also very important because it came after we got like this big grant from Lily's. But the thing is, everything is going in one direction. It's already budgeted. But the students come up with so many ideas and so many needs. So how can we add it?
Yeah.
How can we add that, to the things that they really want to do? So one of the things they said when we going through, okay, Alex got killed. There's so many of that crime that happens. But they would tell us they eat there, they learn food, it's growing, but how can we get it bigger? How can we really teach them more? Because they say crime happens because we are hungry, and nobody talks about that part of it. So here again, when I was thinking, okay, we can do the education of the community, because the main thing is there are three things we feel like is in a shortage with the system, the whole. What did we call it? The system of the food system. We can increase the food, but we also need to fix the soil. We need to educate how do you cook it. So there's that part of it.
Yeah.
And then who's going to do the education? Because we just want to do the science, the agriculture. So who's going to do the other part? Okay. The Marion County Health Department. So they came in. So we were able to hire a dietitian. That comes where the IAQLI helps, because we would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
They wanted to do that, but we couldn't do that.
Right.
Then the goal of education is the students are leaders. So because of the grant now, expanding the garden. How did that work? The student would go into the community. There's so many seniors that wanted raised bed. Some of them wanted 4 feet high, just different levels. So the students will go around and build those. Yeah. One student just did one for his, attend the capstone project, his senior project.
Okay.
And he did that. We have always people in line to do that. We did raised beds at the Hope Center, where for the senior centers, because they need to be raised one. So they do that. Then we partner with Growing Places Indy. They farm, they have a UPIC site. They also manage farmers market at 16th and Tech, Winters Farmers Market. So we distribute vegetables. Now, we do produce vegetable at our site, at our farm, but it is a byproduct of the education. So it isn't like it was not going to maintain, it's not going to continuously supply. Yeah. So we will give it away, we'll sell some, but GPI brought that. So that means the food part, we have a partner. The teen chef In all of that education, we have a partner, the health department, and then we do the education.
Yeah.
And so that is where I think it made it very much possible for us. The grant helps us. Without that, we wouldn't have been able to add these.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you all connect with the kids that are involved in the programs? Like how do kids get connected, or how do you guys identify and connect with them?
The thing is, the students, because they own it, they're part of it, they're the biggest recruiters.
Okay.
We don't even work that hard in that department.
Yeah.
Right now, we are starting at KIPP High School. So he's also another one. At KIPP High School, we are starting to do a farming and a gardening and the food and all of these different things we're doing. But we have a leadership group from KIPP High School. They come to us. When during recruiting, they are in the front.
Yeah.
Usually when we were going to school, we might get 2, 3 today registered and then another one.
Mm-hmm.
When they are there and telling all the students, in one day we got like 27.
Wow.
They will go around, because that's another thing too. The students get paid. They have these leadership positions. So what happened after we teach them? What skills do they have to take care of the beds? Are they paying attention? Are they picking wit? Are they just standing and wasting time? How do we teach those skills? Is that getting paid part of the time when they're doing the work was critical. Mm-hmm. So it's always a choice.
Yeah.
If they are at the farm and they're hanging around chit-chatting, we tell them, you chose for that hour not to get paid. Mm-hmm. So that's fine. You're just making a choice. Every second you're there, you're making a choice. Mm-hmm. And we make it with the first paycheck, we don't take anything out. We don't care how much they goof and all. Mm-hmm. The second one is serious. Then they look at it and they say, what happened? Because they need to see the full paycheck. What does it look like?
Yeah.
Okay? Now that's the target. The second check might be low, but after that, no. Yeah. They're not tardy after that. They do the work. They support each other. There's teamwork. Okay, the other partnership comes when we start paying them. Mm-hmm. I found out Employee D has all of the skills, the job skills. Yeah. We're not going to reinvent anything, so we got the skills and what they need to do, what they learn. So when they finish work, what part of the skill did you apply on that one? And so they would tell us, then they say how, we would say how, and then they will tell. So we keep record of that. Mm-hmm. And then if you see the students, how they interview the first time to get the job, then they come back. So the next year, we interview them again. Their interview is on target. What kind of skill did you bring? They will give you the skills and examples. All of that was this teamwork, perseverance, independence, all of those skills. So the money part works. So how does it work in school? Is it's a job that they apply, recruiting, talking to others. Mm-hmm. All of those are jobs.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's amazing.
So it just fits in there.
Yeah. So how can well, one, I want to thank you for being here today with us and sharing about this amazing center, because I had never heard of it. So it's exciting to learn about it. And I have 4 kids, so listen, they need stuff that they can get involved with and learn to do. Yeah. But so how can they get connected and involved? How can they learn more and get connected to the center?
So now, as I say earlier, we started in the middle school. Mm-hmm. By the time they got to, we started in elementary school. By the time they got to 6th grade, we figured they probably would not come. They probably get tired of us. No, they came back. Mm-hmm. So that means we keep adding, that level of education. We were sure in 8th grade they're not coming for high school. So we did a big thing. We gave them a big pamphlet of pictures, because I take pictures all the time. Uh-huh. We did all of that, and we thought it was goodbye. And then they walked in the next summer from finishing 9th grade, and I just started looking at them. Wow, you're here. You don't have anything for us? So just right that second, yes, I do. You're counselors right now. That's it. So we're just going to be counselors. And everybody says, how? I don't know. some will work out. And really, that was another miracle. The city sent us $5,000 and said, okay, there's the money. They got the job. Yeah. And then they really start running the camp. They just really discuss and see all the different things that needs to happen. And one of the students came to me and he said, when are you really, really going to allow us to run it? Mm-hmm. And I look at them, I thought you were running it. What do you mean? No. You still don't let us do this. I said, really? I didn't know that. So what do you want to do? So the reason he's doing that was the middle school we were working with, we were talking to them the way we talked to the kids before, right? Mm-hmm. But he said, you're talking to them the same way you talk to us, but they talk different language. It's different.
Yeah.
So I say, then you are in the front.
Yeah.
So that means they need to talk to us when we get stuck. Mm-hmm. Every generation kids we bring is different. Yeah. So we can really have a set way of doing things. It needs to keep revolving.
Is there a website or somewhere where people can go to learn more and connect with y'all, or even if they want to support the mission? What's that?
Yeah, it is the www.fhcenter.org.
Okay.
We make it easier this way.
Yes, because we had to spell it, we'd be lost.
FHCenter.org.
Yes. So thank you so much for being here today. I love learning about this. This is beautiful, such a beautiful mission.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for watching today, the 6 Pillars in Action podcast. You can follow us on social media, on YouTube. I'm sure they'll put the links here, but make sure you come back again so that you can learn more about how this amazing funding and this work is really impacting our community. Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed today's 6 Pillars in Action podcast and learned more about how the IAA QLI funding is impacting our city. And remember, to stay up to date on what's happening with IAA QLI and the 6 Pillars in Action, subscribe to the podcast in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also check out the 6 Pillars in Action newsletter, blogs, and other videos on our website at iaaqli.org. Until next time, let's continue to celebrate the power of transformation. See you next time.